The budget for Avengers Endgame was $356 million. That's enough money to feed the entire population of Eritrea for over 1 year. Making blockbuster movies requires eye-watering amounts of money these days. We're talking budgets so huge they exceed the annual GDP of many nations. In fact, the price tags for some of Hollywood's priciest productions could fund basic necessities for entire countries. In this video, we'll count down the 7 most expensive movies ever made that had budgets bigger than many countries' economies. From feeding millions to providing electricity for years, you'll be shocked when you hear what these movie budgets could pay for. How is it possible for 2-hour films to have budgets surpassing what some countries earn annually? Well, exotic filming locations, star-studded casts, and spectacular visual effects send costs for major studio movies into the stratosphere. By the end, your jaw will drop when you realize what these exorbitant movie budgets could buy for countries in need. So grab some popcorn and let's dive into the crazy price tags for Hollywood's most expensive productions. Number 1. Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. In 2011, Disney made waves with the 4th installment of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. With a whopping budget of $378.5 million, this swashbuckling blockbuster cost more to produce than the annual GDP of over 50 countries like Belize, Djibouti, and Malta. So where did all that treasure go? A huge chunk went to star Johnny Depp, who earned an eye-popping $55 million for returning as Captain Jack Sparrow. And the movie shot all around the world, from London to Hawaii, racking up major transportation and set production expenses. Add in costly visual effects to bring ghost ships and mermaids to life, and you've got a budget that could rival a small nation. While On Stranger Tides grossed over $1 billion at the global box office, it couldn't quite recoup its massive price tag. But it still sailed into the record books with the biggest production budget ever for a Pirates film. Number 2. Avengers: Age of Ultron. In 2015, Marvel Studios assembled a budget as colossal as the team of superheroes at the film's center. Avengers: Age of Ultron cost a titanic $365 million to make, topping the GDPs of over 40 countries like Sierra Leone, Iceland, and Armenia. So what led to such a Hulk-sized budget? For starters, it took an army of over 3,000 visual effects artists to create the movie's epic action sequences and superhuman combat. Add in a star-studded cast with some of Hollywood's highest-paid actors like Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson, plus globe-trotting shoots across Korea, Bangladesh, New York, and more. While the budget was massive, so was the payoff. Age of Ultron earned over $1.4 billion worldwide, becoming one of the highest-grossing films in history. Still, it's mind-boggling that a single movie could cost more to produce than some Nate actors earned in a year. Number 3. Avengers: Infinity War. 3 years after Age of Ultron, Marvel Studios was at it again in 2018 with yet another earth-shattering ensemble film. Avengers: Infinity War brought together over 30 lead superheroes for an epic showdown with the villain Thanos, and it came with an appropriately enormous price tag. With a budget of $356 million, this superhero extravaganza cost more to make than the GDPs of nearly 50 countries like Iceland, Malta, and Lebanon. So where did all those millions go? A huge portion went to the enormous cast with star salaries for Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, and more. Exotic shooting locations like Scotland and Atlanta also added to costs. And digitally creating characters like Thanos took an army of VFX artists and cutting-edge technology. While the budget could rival a small nation, the box office numbers did not disappoint. Infinity War earned a mammoth $2 billion globally. Number 4. Avengers: Endgame. In 2019, Marvel Studios capped off over 20 films in its universe with the epic finale, Avengers: Endgame. Tying up storylines and heroes from across multiple franchises, it's no surprise this movie came with a budget as towering as a Marvel supervillain. With a production budget of $356 million, Endgame cost more to create than the GDPs of Kenya, Bulgaria, and Latvia. So where did that huge budget go? A major portion went to salary costs, with star cast members like Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans, and more. Extensive reshoots over months also drove up expenses. Visually creating characters like Thanos and whole armies using CGI was massively expensive, and elaborate sets and exotic shooting locations from Georgia to the UK added to the bill. While the budget was astronomical, so was the payoff. Endgame shattered records with a $2.8 billion box office take to become the highest-grossing film in history. But it's still mind-blowing that a single movie could have a budget exceeding major countries' GDPs. Number 5. Justice League. In 2017, DC Comics assembled its own superhero dream team for Justice League. And like its Marvel counterparts, this blockbuster came with a budget more towering than a skyscraper in Metropolis. With a mammoth production budget of $300 million, Justice League cost more to make than the annual GDPs of nearly 50 countries like Barbados, Bermuda, and Uganda. A huge chunk of that budget went to extensive reshoots, post-production costs, and visual effects. With a runtime of just 2 hours, the soaring budget of Justice League equaled around $150 million for every hour. Add in costly cast salaries for stars like Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot, and the budget quickly ballooned. While Justice League grossed $658 million globally, it failed to recoup its massive budget and was considered a box office disappointment. But it still ranks among the most expensive films ever, with a budget exceeding many small nations' GDPs. Number 6. Spider-Man 3. Long before Tom Holland donned the Spidey suit, Tobey Maguire starred in the original Spider-Man trilogy. And in 2007, the franchise reached new financial heights with Spider-Man 3. With a gargantuan budget of $258 million, Spidey's third solo outing cost more to produce than the GDPs of over 30 countries like Bahrain, Estonia, and Nicaragua. Where did all those millions go? A significant portion went to visual effects to bring characters like Venom and Sandman to life. Stars like Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst also commanded huge salaries. And extensive shoots in Los Angeles, Cleveland, and New York added to costs. At the global box office, Spider-Man 3 performed well, earning $890 million. But with its massive budget, the proportional returns were considered underwhelming. Still, it swung its way into the record books as one of the priciest superhero films ever made. Number 7. Tangled. In 2010, Disney gave the classic fairy tale Rapunzel a CGI makeover with Tangled, and creating this animated musical came with a royal price tag. With a production budget of $260 million, Tangled ranks among the most expensive animated films ever made. It cost more to produce than the annual GDPs of nearly 30 nations like Iceland, Kenya, and Oman. A huge portion of that budget went towards the complex CGI animation and visuals. Tangled took over 6 years to create, with labor-intensive animation driving up costs. Add in expensive voice actors like Mandy Moore and Zachary Levi, and the budget climbed higher than Rapunzel's tower. While costly, the film was a major success, grossing $590 million worldwide. But it's still astounding that an animated feature could have a budget on par with many countries' GDPs. So there you have it. The 7 most expensive movies ever made that cost more than many nations' GDPs. From swashbuckling pirates to Earth's mightiest heroes, these films truly represent the blockbuster model. It's mind-boggling what Hollywood is willing to spend on a major tentpole production. But movie budgets keep climbing as studios try to create the next visual effects spectacle. Just imagine what the budget would be for a team-up with all the Avengers and Justice League heroes. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of how major blockbuster movies can rival the earnings of entire nations. Let me know in the comments what you think of these astronomical budgets. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want to see more videos on the eye-popping finances behind Hollywood. Thank you so much for watching. This was a fun look at how the price tags of major studio films compare to countries around the world. Feel free to let me know any other expensive movie budget comparisons you want to see covered in future videos. I appreciate you taking the time to watch and hope you have an awesome rest of your day.